Check, check. Nice. Hello, everyone. Nice to see everyone around. Nobody got lost, I guess. So there's one guy outside, but we don't wait for him because we want to move on further. And as we learned so far, that game design itself could be divided in three primary schemes. And I forgot to mention it, that this whole conference day is divided by those primary schemes itself. So after the brilliant keynote from Eric, we want to head on to those three primary schemes, and we're going to start with the scheme rules. And therefore, we'd like to introduce a certain a thinker, a certain rules maker. So we will talk about Newzoo, and he's the co-founder and as well the CEO of Newzoo. And what they are doing is they are kind of the biggest strategy and analyzers for the games industry worldwide. They have huge customers, and Peter Warman is the name of this our today's speaker, and he's brilliant in data and in information, and to put those certain industry informations and pull it together to certain strategies. So please, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Peter Warman, CEO and co-founder of Newzoo, who he's taking the video, I guess.
Thanks very much, Daniel. Wow. That's an intro. I was taking it and put it as intro on our website. It was good. Really? Yeah, my name is Peter Warman. I'm very proud to be here. I'm very happy to be here. And there's a very private reason why I'm very happy, because I studied industrial design engineering at the Technical University of Delft. So making real things, physical things, like phones and stuff, and forks. I designed forks. I was famous for that. And but the issue is, when I'm at my parents' house having dinner, and I tell them, okay, this market research company is doing well, 15 people now, and it's hard work, but it's doing well. And my parents say, Dad, that's good news. It's just too bad you failed after your study, because you studied design. Too bad you failed. That's how my parents approach it. Very stimulating, by the way. But I'm happy because now I'm in the Red Dot design book, and this is about design and industrial design and everything. I'm going to take this with me in the coming weekend. I'm going to get the respect that I deserve from my parents. Finally. And my parents have a hard time understanding that being flexible in this market, moving with trends, is what it's about. It's not about following the thing you studied, and that is success. And we're a market data nerd company, but we do determine our own research. So we have to think open and think ahead. And we need to zoom out and zoom in. We spend most of the day talking about Philippine women, how much they spend on the iPad in certain regions of the Philippines, nerdy data stuff. But to be able to talk about trends, you need to zoom out now and again. And zooming out here in Berlin means this. This is not exactly, but almost a view from my hotel. And when I zoom in on Berlin, this is what I see. For me, this is even more beautiful. I used to go at night, and my parents don't even know this, backpack full of spray cans. I did this stuff. So I love this part of Berlin. And if you zoom out on me as a person, people talk about Newzoo, like the intro, about the fact that we're from Amsterdam. People who've been in Amsterdam and recognize the map, they say, that's in the middle of the red light district. And yes, we're in a ex-ballet school in the middle of the red light district. And our latest hire is this puppet in our office. So we try to take the work hard, play hard thing very seriously. We have a new football thing in our office since a week, and this guy has arrived in the office. That's all cool. If you zoom in on me as a person and my love for Berlin, probably. Since 2007, when Newzoo started, my bio contains the latent sentence, Peter loves Italian opera as well as good German techno. Even when I'm in Korea and I do a talk there, people come up to me and say, hey guys, there's a good techno party there. I know you like techno, Peter. Because for 7 years, it's been the last sentence in my bio. And as you might know, last weekend was the Amsterdam dance event. This is a picture that I took on Saturday evening. Yes, I'm 43, but I can still dance. Then I went to Deep Dish, which of course is more old school set of DJs. It was terrific, but it also took me back to my first Berlin experience, going to Berlin with 10 friends. And I have a question for you. Who knows who this is? Who is this? Yeah? Who is this?
That's Peter Marquardt, the door guy at the Berghain.
Yeah, what's his name?
Peter Marquardt?
Sven Marquardt, yeah, very good. Sven Marquardt, this is the doorman of Berghain. The evening that we went there more than 10 years ago, it was called the Panorama Bar, I think. We were, just take a sip of water before I get emotional about these memories. 10 friends here, every year we go with 10 friends, do crazy, go to city, get drunk, that sort of stuff. We were drunk already, wanted to go home, and this guy in the bar said, "You should go to a club there, the Panorama Bar, that's cool." And we were completely, "Oh, okay," the cab. We went there to this industrial park, stood in the row for half an hour, and half of the people in front of us got turned away. And we thought we were 10 Dutch guys, drunk, how are we ever going to get in? And then it got worse, this game got worse. So we stood up, the doorman faced us, and it was this guy looking us in the face. And we thought we had just entered sort of the final level in this terrible horror game. What's happening? And he let 10 of us in. We were lucky, it was gay night. Indeed, this is Berghain. And just as you probably know, who's this guy? Yeah, Paul Kalkbrenner. So Paul and Frits Kalkbrenner are famous DJs. I'm not sure if they live in Berlin, but his movie Berlin Calling is one of my favorite movies. I've watched it about 10 times, I think. And it's about the life of a techno DJ, Paul Kalkbrenner playing a techno DJ himself. Super cool. So my respect for Berlin is huge. But to zoom out again, today we're not only talking about my love for techno, but also about other parties. And this is a party that you see more and more in Europe. I think it's called the Color Festivals or something like that.
Holly Festival.
Holly? Holly, okay. Okay, now the Holly Festival. So this comes from a tradition in India, sort of a religious festival, and they throw powder over themselves in colors or just white stuff. And over the past years, this has moved to Europe, these color festivals or color runs. And when zooming out and zooming in, I'm also looking for beautiful pictures. So I found these and I said, how can I integrate this into a keynote? And I actually thought, hey, I'm lucky there because there's a phone in it. There is a phone, and this girl that is holding it up, she packaged it in a plastic bag to secure it against the powder. Very smart. And I thought, why have these color festivals come to the West? And is there a relationship with what I'm always talking about, how the mobile games growth, the app environment, and how Uber would not have existed if the app ecosphere would have not have been there, for instance. And I thought, you know what, if there hadn't been any smartphones or smart apps or abilities to take photos, this whole color festival would never have traveled from India to the West, never. It would have stayed there forever. And the reason is, powder costs money. Powder costs 20 cents per person. So this festival, 50,000 people, that's an investment of 10,000 euros. Why do that if nobody can share the effect? So when people started to share the pictures of the powder festivals in India, event organizers in the West thought, 10,000 euros. How many people can I get to share my marketing effort for 10,000 euros? Not a lot. I'm going to invest it in the powder, add it to my event, and it will market itself. And so the powder festivals have come here because of the success of the smartphones, and it's a marketing investment, that powder, related to mobile phones. And what I'm trying to do here is to relate the real world to the nitty-gritty digital stuff that we're talking about. And I'm very happy the first two speakers did that already completely. But I have a couple more examples of them. So as a research analyst, we need to put our hard data into segments. So we throw all the jargon about games out of the way, consoles and Mo and stuff. We hardly talk about that. Consumers and their 4 screens. And don't forget the real world. And more it's becoming obvious that the real world is crucial to games as a whole and game design particularly. One note, never talk about mobile gaming because tablets and smartphones each have their own right of existence. So people who have a smartphone, that's a personal phone you always have with you, and at home, well, at us there's 3 iPads lying there because my wife never wants to pay for Candy Crush. So she plays and then just to wait 8 minutes, grabs the other iPad. And this is not a joke. But potentially those 2 new screens, mobile gaming, can take 50% of the industry because from a consumer perspective, these are 2 different screens, each having their own right of existence. So that's why we split it up into screens, but let's not forget the real world. I also try to experiment with PowerPoint, what you can do in a design way. I'm not as good as you, but sort of migrating towards a boring slide. So who are we to talk about this? And I said we spend most of our days with these guys working out very boring, detailed data challenges. But the most remarkable about these clients is that most of the non-gaming companies have only become a client this year. Coca-Cola, Facebook, YouTube, Amazon is up there somewhere, DreamWorks, all media companies that have suddenly are buying games data because it's influencing what they are doing. It's influencing a bigger scope of activities. And to understand what games are, just briefly some data, but with examples, so it still looks very colorful. Our definition of games includes everything, so also gaming on Facebook to the left. In the middle it's MMO games, so games played together with a lot of people, like Minecraft, bought for only $2.5 billion by Microsoft, a steal. And the PC games, which are downloaded from Steam predominantly and other websites. So PC gaming, this all happens on the PC screen, or the computer screen, you could say. And then, of course, there's consoles, which is relatively stable, and handheld consoles, which are completely disappearing because of the force of mobile, and that's happening faster than everybody is expecting. So these 2 guys, the tablets and the smartphones, are ripping everything apart. Yesterday, if you read the Games Press on VentureBeat and stuff, there was an article published by us. Newzoo apologizes, has to adjust its mobile games estimates upwards again for the 2nd time in a year. So this adds up to $21.8 billion. But in the middle, our data and data of Apple, Google, and other stuff that we have led us to the conclusion we have to let the market know that it's going to be 3.2 billion more this year. It also means that next year it will be more than all console games put together. This is on a global scale. So in America, consoles will still be bigger, but on a global scale. That 25 billion did not exist, or at least those screens did not exist 7 years ago. So change, a lot of change, that's good. Good for market research, and it's inspiring for us creative people here. So I'm going to skip through this boring data for now. I have more fun stuff to talk about. I put this in because some people like to have some reference numbers, so I guess this deck is going to be up for download on somewhere, or you can ask me, and then you can take away the data that you want. And you can see that our theory about mobile taking a share of the global games market that could be up to 50%, you can almost see it happen, especially after adjustment upwards of that number. It will be 40 billion in 2017. Why do games research companies talk a lot about money? It's because the majority of money spent on mobile, 80 to 90%, is going to games. It's a consumer revenue business. It's not particularly an advertising business. Enough boring graphs. Oh, shoot, another one. So we also track what companies earn. And this shows something interesting. All the way to the left, there's a company called Tencent. It's a Chinese company. 2 years ago, they were about half the size of EA, Electronic Arts, and Tencent. This is not all the revenues, only game revenues. They're growing at about 40% a year. And they have overtaken the position as #1 game company. So the Chinese is something to reckon with. It's not weird that we have opened a Shanghai office a couple weeks ago, before we've opened a US office. You need to be in touch with what's happening there. American press said, there's no Nintendo in that list. How can be this a game company list? There's no Nintendo. Nintendo is on 11 or 12. In the first half year of this year, Apple's revenues, 1.9 billion in a half year, is generated by the 30% they get for every game. That was 3 times as much as Nintendo earned in that same period with all its games. So how fast it's going and how it's affecting our industry and shaking up all the powers is unbelievable. And for small indies and everything, it provides opportunity because change is in the air, so you can move faster than a Nintendo can. Enough boring graphs. Yeah, luckily, yeah. This was a couple days ago. I used Google Images as a brainstorm tool. So I wanted to have transformation. And I only got butterflies and caterpillars, because that's the icon for transformation, because Google Images tells me so. And then I got lost. I got lost in these beautiful butterfly images and these communities of people having butterfly images. And then that is beautiful. And this is my favorite one that I found. But it's all about transformation of the industry and what consumers are doing. From a technical perspective, when it comes, what are the trends that are changing everything? Okay, so there's not only PC, TV now where you can play games, but tablets, smartphones, doubling of the screens that allow a consumer to play games everywhere and anywhere he wants. So there's no limitation anymore. And they're always online and they can always play games. And by the way, it used to be 60 2 years ago, but now it's 80% of mobile revenues. Everything consumers spend on their mobile in the App Store goes to games. Games are free. Yeah, there's still a couple boxes out there in the store that you can buy for 60 euros. It's still a question of time, and that will be gone. Because, also the younger generation is getting used to trying games and to leave it up to the consumer to start paying. I believe that even payment in games will become completely voluntarily, what people now call free to win. So you can be as good as anyone without spending money. In some games now you need to really spend money, otherwise you'll never be the champion. But I think consumer spending will be dominated by voluntary payments. And on mobile, people had a choice in the beginning. You want to spend money on the game or free and then in the game? The consumers have decided in 7 years we want the free games and decide what we spend. And if I want to spend $300 on a game in a month, I want to be able to do so. It's an insult that I cannot spend $300 a month on Call of Duty. How can you take that from me? My desire to spend money on my hobby. I tell this story to politicians who say, you're squeezing all the money out of people. No, you're allowing people to express their enthusiasm for my game brand in terms of money. And in all this, because it's free to play, you need to massage people, keep them happy all the time before they start spending money and then might spend more. So games are a service. You're not working towards this launch in a store and then it's done and the whole design team goes into the bar, gets drunk and works on a new project. No, you stick with the product. Because first, maybe the feedback of the game will be not so good. People are all going away after a minute. Let's change. And this happened in Brazil, the color of my crops. So they had lettuce that grows, and they changed it to a little bit darker green, because in Brazil, or I think lighter green, in Brazil, because of the sun, things grow faster, so the color is lighter, and the crops match the color of the local crops, and suddenly the game went well. So you as a designer are involved in helping the consumer or tweaking the game until it really works. And this is all live during real operation, not in a beta phase. So games are a service. You can imagine a Nintendo organization with thousands and thousands of people to shift from marketing boxes organization to a service organization. That's almost impossible without firing everyone and starting all over again. And that's the opportunity for indies. Start your company up in a way that suits the new market. And that's why Supercell earns more than $1 billion. That's why King earns more than $1 billion. And that's why other companies struggle. Ultimate effect of all this is that we're grabbing more time of people, more places where they can play games. We're all trying to keep them playing games. So in a single year in the Western world, Western Europe and US, gamers spend 40% more time. And games have been around since 1971 or something. I was a Pong player. And in one single year, 40%? That's ridiculous. But it's good news because games is becoming more important in this century of, I have a difficulty with that word. What is it again, Eric? The ludic century. This is a hard fact for you, that it is the ludic century. And everything's happening on a global scale. No different business models anymore. You've got iPhones in China. It's all global. Great stuff. And it becomes even more interesting, I think. And this connects my story to that of Daniel and Eric, I think. We're thinking of what's the next thing that is happening, and it has to do with the broader impact of games. In 2005, consumers want unique experiences. There are some that want to create stuff, and you want to share something. And in 2005, this was all hosted by professionals. So you had your movies and games where you go to really get a nice experience. If you stuff that is created is predominantly by professionals. You go to the museum, you see art, or you say ooh and ah to real famous designers. And sharing was done by professionals. Advertising, here, share, mail in your mailbox. That was sharing. And at a certain point in 2005, there was this term prosumer. There are some people that, when they're smart enough, they can actually make flyers themselves. They can create some advertising income. So Blogger and YouTube, your own Google Ads, started to give power to the consumer. And if you look back, that has completely accelerated, because if you look at how the situation is now, experience, create, and share, the consumers expect to be able to do everything themselves. And the market for professionally created content has become less important. So movies and games are the best experience, so really high-end games you can get, but they're used as an inspiration for doing things yourself. And that's what people do in the middle. Because it's not prosumers, everybody can now create and share. Everybody's doing it. My wife said, I'm not creating anything, but she puts nice albums of photos on Facebook in a way that it creates almost photo albums and stuff. I say, you're creating a whole blog and website, you're creating it. And you're choosing who you're sharing it with. Everybody is doing it. So the prosumer term, even the term consumer doesn't apply anymore. Consumer is about taking stuff in. We should have a new word for consumer. It's totally outdated. I didn't have time last night to think it up. Facilitators. I think that's it. I think that's how this started, this event, and that's how it's going to end. Power to the facilitators. The companies that are invested now in, bought for millions, are in the middle of that. Curse you might not know, Twitch, bought by Amazon, all the YouTube channels where you can earn money, Fundly, which is even a more open platform than Kickstarter and stuff, and Instagram. That's what's happening. And that means, and this is a good example, and we already saw esports coming by, so live events. So why are companies like Blizzard and Riot Games investing in creating live events? Because of the business model. I told you that because of free-to-play, the longer you can engage someone, the higher the chance they'll start spending money, the higher the chance to spend more. And they started to realize it's not only about time spent within the game, it's time spent entertaining them with my brand. It's time that they spend watching videos on YouTube about my game. That's also, I'm getting time from them, and that's the most valuable asset that a consumer has. eventually that will be rewarded in money as long as you allow people to spend $300 a month that are real big fans. So this is a championship thing, and just in the previous slide you saw the latest big one was a Staples Center in LA. Well, LA is all about media, and suddenly the Staples Center, the most famous venue, was full of gaming geeks. And I almost forgot about the event, but the USA Today and the Herald Tribune were all calling, and suddenly it broke through to mass media. And especially in America, that needs to happen, and then it takes off like crazy. And that's what's happening at the moment. And I think I have another little quiz for you, but first, the people that stream video content from those events, they're actually at the event. It's a company called Twitch, in existence for a couple years. Who has not heard of Twitch? Very good, everyone knows Twitch. Sure. You might know them because the esports videos are brought to you by Twitch, and it's bought by Amazon for $1 billion. Snatched away for YouTube because they took too long to negotiate. Twitch is more than that. Twitch doesn't stream only esports, it allows you to stream your own game. So I'm playing my game, I'll broadcast my game, and I'll allow other people to watch me. And you say, who wants to do that? But how cool is it that you can watch somebody ranked slightly higher than you in a different continent and watch how he plays, and then learn and go back to your own. So it's that's the bigger part. It facilitates people being a broadcaster, earning money. It's in the middle of those 3 circles. I've got a question for you. Which event is this image on the background? Does anyone know? Yeah, it's cool. You rule. If you're looking for a job, no. It's in Seattle in last July. It's called The International. It's organized by the publisher of the game called Valve, who also has the biggest PC game store in the world, Steam. Their game, competitor of League of Legends, is Dota 2. Filled up a stadium with 18,000 or something for the final. Of course, Chinese won again. It's always Chinese or Koreans that win, because they've been doing esports for a long time. So they're more experienced. So Chinese winning in Seattle in the Seahawks Stadium. What's so special about this? One thing, very hard fact, the prize pool, $10 million. The winning team of 5 people got $5 million. I remember a time when the Dutch soccer team did not lose to Iceland. And that's a long time ago that we were 3rd in the World Cup. That seems like a long time ago since we lost to Iceland. The 23 players got exactly 23 million from the FIFA, so there was a prize pool, 1 million a person. So the prize pool here per person is approximately the same as the World Soccer Cup for the Dutch team, then 3rd place. What's more interesting, and that ties into the power of the consumers, 8 million of that money was given by consumers, because Valve allows people to express their enthusiasm in cash. You got a compendium, which is sort of a digital ebook around the event, if you gave $10 per person. So what's even more special is 8 million is built up by $2.50 of $10 that 3.2 million people have donated. So it gives them a direct revenue of $24 million. This is revenue not spent in the game, it's revenue spent on supporting this event. They have shown that the investment in esports is not only a marketing investment, it can be a business model on its own. Broadcasting events and this is more than the game itself. Sorry to talk so much about money. The facts about German esports people will be in the deck if anyone needs that, but I want you to remember these were the 2 sort of images that I showed, and that there's so much value in looking at things in a broader perspective and zooming in and zooming out. And I hope I've shown that, and I would suggest that you take time to really enjoy Googling images. Looking at things happening in real life, fun things. creative brainstorming with a beer about how did that happen? Does it relate to my design, or how can my design help to do that? We were talking in the break about package design. Can my package design stimulate people taking photos of my packaging and sharing it? And that's what the success of Coke is, with the names on it. It's not a fun idea. No, it's people taking pictures and sharing it. It's marketing. And just look at beautiful images. I now love butterflies. I've faced my enemy again. I love people. I love graffiti. I love Berlin. So guys, zoom out, and thank you very much for listening to my talk.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you.
So what was that with the techno again?
I think you handled that enough.
Those are impressive numbers, actually, and really, really funny, entertaining, but as well infotaining lecture you gave. Thank you very much for that. Are there questions about numbers? All right, there's a question over there. But maybe you can just scream. No, it's okay. Okay, cool. Thanks, Peter.
Hello. So I've got a question because you said that it's a great opportunity for indies to kind of move into that like app and mobile market. But for me, it seems like it's it's not an opportunity for indies in the sense that there's like a lone guy like a coder in his bedroom making like a little game, but more for indies in the vein of Supercell that can kind of push their game to the top of the charts. Like people play Candy Crush. Like I see people playing Candy Crush in the subway all the time. But I don't think they play it because it's the best match 3 game out there. It's just the one that's on the top of the App Store, for eternity. So I'm kind of thinking, is that the only kind of model going forward? Like you need to be the top dog, like the top of the charts, super thing to be.
No, luckily it's not, and it's an often asked question because everybody, even I talk too much about the top guys. So what we looked into our data is how much of how big is the long tail in mobile? So because people say all the new billions only goes to the top, but luckily that is not true. So there's now, if you look at the revenues of the US app stores alone, we just took a sample of the US app store revenues. There's 300 individual companies that have more than $1 million revenues a year based on their app store revenue in the US alone. 300 companies. And that's only the US, and the US is only 1/5 or 1/6 of the total market. So there is no other platform except for PC probably where there are 300 individual companies making more than $1 million. And say $1 million could be a studio of 10, say. So the long tail is there on mobile. That's one remark. And the other thing, the indies have time on their side. If you want to go high up the ranking, there's 2 things that you need. One is, or it's time, or it's a lot of money. So Candy Crush has a lot of money, they push it up the charts. You don't have that money. You have, hopefully, the time to build up a community of people that will help you tweak the game and promote the game. And big publishers with big investors, and if you're an indie with a lot of VC money in you, you will not have the time to do that. Long build-up community and stuff, but there's an opportunity to build up momentum in time to earn at least that first $1 million. So, yeah, I think you'll be very successful.
Great. Be the butterfly.
If I can be of more practical help, reach out to me during the break, please.
All right. So time is running out a bit. So thank you very much again, Peter. Thank you for the question.